Port Christian Church family, Pastor Mike here. Hope you are doing well on this fine Wednesday. It is indeed another Wednesday in the Word, and here's what we're going to talk about. God needs you to tell others about Him, but He gives us the opportunity to partner with Him. And that's what Romans 1:20 talks about. Romans chapter 1, verse 20 talks about, for since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, His eternal power, and divine nature have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made, so that people are without excuse. I'm going to read it again. For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, His eternal power, and divine nature have been clearly seen, being understood from what has, so that people are without excuse. Romans 1:20. This verse popped out at me when I was reading this chapter last week. And it popped out because it hit me like a ton of bricks. God doesn't need me to reveal Himself to other people. But guess what? I get to be a part of the equation. It's an opportunity for me. God has no problem making Himself known. Okay? He has no problem. He is divine. He is all powerful. He can do whatever He wants to reveal Himself to people. Okay? God has no problem revealing Himself to people. He doesn't need me and you, but He uses us, and we get to be used. We get to serve. When I was in high school, I got into a car accident, and I rolled my vehicle, and I flipped it over a bunch of times down a hill, and it was the middle of winter. It was like 3:30 in the afternoon. It wasn't rush hour. The road I was on wasn't busy at all. Nobody was really around me. And we get to the bottom of the hill, and thankfully the car was upright. So we just got out of the car, and we walked up the hill. And when we got up to the top of the hill, there was a gentleman waiting in the minivan. It was myself, my sister, and a friend of ours. And there was a guy waiting at the top of the minivan, just sitting there. And he said to me, I saw what happened. Come and sit in my car while you wait for a tow truck or whatever you need to get. And he just happened to have a cell phone. And this was when cell phones were fairly new. So he happened to have a cell phone. So I call my mom, tell her what happened, and she comes. This guy waits for us. It was about 30 minutes. He waits for us. He sits there and waits. And I look back at that, and I realize the hand of God in that situation. First of all, he was a complete stranger who just happened to be there. Second of all, he wasn't a serial killer that drove off with us and we were never to be found again. Third, he waited, and I never saw him again. And I look back at that, and sometimes I wonder, was he even an angel sent by God? And it's these kind of encounters that God reveals Himself. He reveals Himself through nature. Look at the mountains. Look at the hills. Look at the wind. Look at the way our bodies are made. That's all a revelation of the power and divine strength of God. Look at the way that He sets up your life. Look at the way He ordains things. Look at the fact that we all carry His likeness. We have the ability to love and to feel. We have joy and pain and peace and sorrow. These are all qualities of God, and these are all things that show us who God is. They reveal God to us. And He created all of this. He made all this, and He made me and you, and He made us all unique and different. And He did all this so that we can take notice of Him. And He did it so, like the end of the verse says, so that people are without excuse. He did all this so we would take notice. It's God's love letter to us, so that we can see his power, see his divinity, his divine nature, clearly understand, clearly see, so that people are without excuse. So like I said, God doesn't need us to reveal himself. But in another part of the Bible, it says that all creation is waiting for you and I to step into our calling and join with creation in displaying and sharing about God's eternal power and divine nature. All creation waits for us. It says it waits and groaning for us to step into our calling. God doesn't need us, but he created creation. He created the world to wait for us to come and do our part. We don't have to, but we get to. And creation is waiting for us to do that. Mount Everest. Think about how amazing that mountain is. Think about how amazing Niagara Falls is. Think about how truly wondrous the Grand Canyon is. Think about the beauty of his creation and the flowers and the fields. All these things, they show his power. But you're just as beautiful and just as unique and just as important in showing God off. You play your role in the same way all these things of creation do. We don't have to serve in this amazing partnership. It's not something you should dread. It's not something you should be nervous about. It's not something you should be ashamed of. Earlier in this chapter, Paul says, I'm not ashamed of the gospel of Jesus Christ. We get to serve. We get to join in with what is eternal, powerful, and divine. Just as important as any other part of God's creation is you joining in this opportunity. So God doesn't need our help in revealing himself, but we get to have the opportunity to join in. And my one question for you today is, what are you waiting for? Because creation's waiting for you to enter into your calling. It's waiting for you to join this partnership. But what are you waiting for? And what are you doing in your life to reveal God to other people around us? It's not a must. It's not a have to. It's a get to. I get to do this. That's exciting. So I hope that blesses you. That's where I'm at in God's word. I'm praying for you guys. I hope you're praying for me because we are all in this together. God bless.